All right, so here's the monotribe, and I'm just going to go over all what the knobs do and switches, give you a quick tutorial, and also show you a couple of tips and tricks that I've learned while using this for the past couple of weeks that aren't really natural at first, but might save you some time. The first knob up here is your octave. This switch right here works in conjunction with the knob. So I'm on the key mode. There's also narrow and wide. Narrow makes your input a span of about 2 octaves, octave and a half, and then wide makes your slide the very lowest and the very highest. So at that point, the octave won't matter at all. So this switch right here is your waveform switch, and that is the envelope of your wave. And you can change it from sawtooth to triangle to square. The next two knobs here are your VCF cutoff and peak, and that stands for voltage control filter. The cutoff is just like every other classic analog synthesizer, and it's like the brightness of the sound. So, and your peak can be thought of as the resonance knob that you more commonly see, but I think that in this case it's a little bit more overdriven. That's some sub bass right there. The next series is your voltage control amplifier. The top knob is simply just the level, so it's just the volume. So when adjusting this, you want to be sure that you understand which of these three modes you're in. I'm in one-shot mode, which means that the amplitude envelope generator is actually just happening like it's a ASDR, attack sustained delay release. When you have the switch to the top, it'll be like a decay, just like that. The next one is square, which is basically just always on. The next one below that is a slow progression to full on. The next two knobs up here are your LFO, low frequency oscillator knobs, and you have rate and int, and I think that stands for intensity. You go to the fast mode on the LFO here. This switch directly relates to these two. In fast mode, and this knob about halfway up, you're going to get a real just sound. This one right here is the intensity of the LFO. So the higher it is, the more extreme the oscillations. The lower it is, the more faint they are from neutral. So starting at full left, you shouldn't hear any wobbling of any kind. But as I move it up, you'll start to hear it wobble. And then you keep going. Just like that. This far knob over here is the waveform for your low frequency oscillator. So this is sawtooth. The next one down is triangle, so it's going to go up and down, kind of a throbbing sound. And the bottom one is hard on, hard off, like a square wave. Just like that. These last two knobs over here is your rhythm volume. So again, that's just the volume. So I'll turn the synth down. I'll hit some drums. The one below that is the overall tempo. So this is very slow tempo. That's a more normal tempo there. I'll just keep on cranking it up. There you go. This knob right here is the last knob I'm going to talk about because it's the one I know the least about. And from what I have understood, it basically takes the low frequency oscillator and maps it to either the voltage control oscillator or the voltage control oscillator and the voltage control filter, or just the voltage control filter. This is controlling just the VCO from the LFO. This is controlling both the oscillator and filter. And the bottom one is just sending it to the filter. Now we're going to move on to the parts. You have your synth, bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat. And you just select which part you want to put on the sequencer, and you put it on the sequencer. So I'm going to clear all of these off. First of all, the synthesizer is pretty simple. Got the synth, the bass, the snare, and the hi-hat all working together and all having fun. Let's hear it again. For the 3 drum parts, if you want to make it a 16th beat, basically you can hold the part down, and as you hold it down, you can add 16th notes in between the 8 steps. So this is going to be a 16th note hi-hat. And normally you'd want to kind of bring the tempo down a little bit. So I'll do a couple of little skippy things. So here we go. So you got the ability to do a little bit of variant on the drums there when you have the half notes. Active step part of it is basically a cheating way to make it a 5/8, a 3/8, a 4/4, 7/8, 8/8, and you can actually cheat by, if you want to make it say a 5/8, but you want to turn off the 4, the 6, and the 7th, you still have a 5/8 sequence. The bottom ones are pretty simple. You have your play, and it also works as a play pause. The record button allows you to record, and that's only the ribbon for the synth. And remember, every time you roll over to the beginning of the sequence, you're going to rewrite anything again if you still have your finger on the ribbon. So if you like something, what you should do is take your finger off the ribbon and listen to it for another couple of cycles to make sure that it sounds good. The flux button is basically, it gives the synthesizer no constraints on the 8 steps. As you can see, it's doing exactly what I recorded earlier, but now it's doing it loosey-goosey style. So I'm going to hit record again, and I'm going to add little notes in between this. Okay, so I've stopped the arm of the recording, and I'm going to turn flux off, and it's going to basically capture the sequence of pitches, but only capture them in 1/8. Now with flux on, it's going to just go back to whatever I recorded, loosey-goosey, no steps. Last but not least, the gate time button. When you are playing a sequence, hold down gate time. It changes the amount of time that each note plays. If you arm it for recording and hold gate time and change it as you're recording, it'll record the gates. Like that. one of the tricks I've learned when you're trying to do, say, a real like acid bass type sound, find the sound you like. I'm on the key mode, so I actually have notes here. Okay, so I'm going to record it with a very low tempo. I'm also going to put hi-hats at the 16th so I can hear them. So I'm going to be in flex mode. I'm going to hit record. I'm going to hold the lowest note down. Like that. Now, I'm going to move this to the decay waveform for the amplification, so it's going to be boom. I've made a little bass line. And turn the tempo back up a little bit, turn off the hi-hats on the halfway beats, and now I'm going to bring the cutoff and peak up just a little. In fact, I'll go to square. There you go. And if I go back into flex mode, it'll actually give me some of the slides that I had programmed in there. So turn down the rhythm and distort this thing